Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, where we've got a special bit of news actually. Really happy to see this one. I did some videos a couple of weeks back in terms of some of the mythical champions I would like to see buffed, because there is nothing worse in this game than you finally get your first mythical and they suck. And you go, well, how long is it going to be till I get something good? So 3 of the weaker mythicals in the game, in my opinion, are getting buffed here today. Let's dive in. Let's take a look. The first one, I'm delighted about this because I have him. This one is straight for me. And I have him at 6-star as well. And that's Frolny the Mechanist. He's fine at the moment in the game. He's okay. He's an okay HP damage dealer. But when you compare him to, let's say, the good Form 1 damage dealers like Alaz is on another level. Siegfried is on another level. Frolny just doesn't really compare well at all. Well, what is being changed with Frolny? Frolny the Mechanist received quite a straightforward yet effective rebalance. The majority of his attacking skills received a respectable damage boost, allowing him to be your trusted damage dealer. While his core mechanics remain unchanged, his increased damage output now makes him a more formidable force, better suited to taking down enemies quickly and efficiently. So simple enough. Form 1, damage increase on everything, and Form 2, alternate form, damage increase on his A2. So yeah, Frolny in Form 1, he's pretty simple, right? Single target attack, ignore some defense for each buff. Double hitter, steals buffs. If the attack, one hit. If the attack is critical, repeats the attack. Now, Frolny actually does have a place in like the end game meta as a counter to Siegfried, right? Because Siegfried, when you kill him with a hit, he gets block damage and he heals himself up. Well, Frolny can actually steal that and still kill Siegfried, so that is relevant. His A3 is an AoE, does more damage if he has higher max HP. So he's very simple. He's a simple damage dealer, like AoE, big single target hit, small single target hit. He's simple. His passive is very good, right? His passive is very good, boosting his crit damage by his HP, but also increasing his max HP and therefore his crit damage up to double max HP and up to 100% extra speed when he kills an enemy. So Frolny right now in his base form, he's only all right as a HP damage dealer. Nothing too crazy, but when he does start stacking this up, he does become insane. It's going to depend how big these damage buffs are. We don't know. They do say they're respectable buffs. Like, these damage buffs could actually be kind of nuts for Form 1, because, again, if you up his damage, if he can actually kill people well without any stacks, he could become an absolute monster with stacks. Whereas right now, he's sort of like, he's average without stacks, and then he's like good with stacks. If he starts off at good, he could become really crazy with them. That's cool. In Form 2, they buffed up the A2, Pulverizing Procedure, single target attack, heals him by 50% max HP, and balances the HP of all allies. This is his good move in Form 2. I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't do anything about his A3. His A3, ally protection on his team, on his allies, and unkillable on him, and that's it. You know, for a mythical, where you're looking at champions like Alaz and Galathier, like the top tier ones, this is pretty underwhelming. Like, I mean, hell, even, you know, legendaries come in with ally protection, increased defense, or something like that. Just ally protection on your team, it's pretty crappy. Now, it can give you a shield on allies with less than 50% HP, but it's not particularly big shield. It's just underwhelming. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed we didn't see more changes to Form 2. I have not booked my Frolny's Form 2 because, honestly, it's kind of rubbish. And that doesn't seem to change. Now, maybe this move will absolutely clap. He does, he doesn't gain any extra defense, but his base defense is really good. And you'll have high crit damage and crit rate from Form 1. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe this thing absolutely trucks now. That will certainly help. But I feel like he could have used some updates to his mechanics in Form 2. Mechanics, get it? Hey. But yeah, that is Frolny. Delighted to see him getting a buff. Okay, next up then, it is Skinwalkers. It's not Gallius. It is Mezomel the Luperfang. Both her and Frolny, part of the original 5. I think, was Mezomel YST's champion? Remember, we got to reveal the mythical champions when they came to the game? Frolny was actually the champion I revealed. So I'm actually quite happy now. I've got a 6-star Frolny. That feels like fate, and he's finally been buffed. Finally, I need to find my little holographic Frolny card that I got back then. It's here somewhere. Yeah, we should show that off when we do a showcase of 6-star Frolny. Oh, it's going to be glorious. But Mezomel, she is getting buffed as well. Again, I would say Mezomel right now, AoE damage dealer in Form 2. Just single target damage dealer in Form 1. She does bring in block revive, which is nice. But she doesn't hit insanely hard. She's definitely niche. She's very niche. And certainly, like, you compare her again to, like, Siegfried is an obvious example. It's, you know, it's a bit of a rough comparison, to be honest. But let's see what's changing with her. Mezomel Luperfang also received a noticeable boost to her damage, making her a far more threatening presence on the battlefield. In addition, her main form's A2 has been enhanced with an extra 15% ignore of the target's defense, allowing her to punch through even the toughest defenses with greater ease. Her main form, damage boosted on both of her skills and 15% ignore defense. This makes her Form 1, I think, a lot more threatening. So again, we will see just how much of a damage boost this is. Her A1 is not that important, but it will hit harder. But look, she self-buffs, which is nice. Extra turn in here, increase attack, crit rate, crit damage. Then she'll come in, double hitter, ignore stone skin. That's pretty big. And shields, strength and eye protection, and it can block revive. This now hitting number 1, higher multipliers, and number 2, ignoring defense. That's a big win. So she should actually be a very, very reliable, one of probably the best single target block revive champs in the game, which is great. So that's a really good niche for her. So I'm happy with that. One thing I'm, again, a little bit disappointed about is for her second form, she doesn't have any increased crit rate. So it's a bit awkward. Their second form is just an attack damage dealer as well. If you build her with 70% crit rate in Form 1, it means her Form 2 is kind of weaker. I guess they want that to be gameplay. I'm not sure if that's good gameplay, but that seems to be a downside. Form 2 alternate form, damage increase, damage increase. So we don't know what the damage increase here is. I've not seen too much of Mezomel in Form 2, to be honest. You know, she gets more attack and crit damage. Yep, she's got a double hit that can put True Fear. Doesn't trigger counterattacks, ignores unkillable block damage. And then an A1, AoE. Doesn't trigger counterattacks, extra hit on enemies under True Fear. So, yeah, it's still a little bit conditional. Obviously, to land the True Fear is kind of awkward, but it would help you rip through some damage dealer. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what it's going to be here. Yeah, I mean, if it's a small damage boost, she might not be too exciting. But hell, if it's a big damage boost, she's got a lot of AoEs. Could actually be pretty strong. So I guess we'll see with Frolny and with Mezomel. For the most part, it's just they do the exact same thing, but they're hitting apparently significantly harder. We'll see what ends up happening. I mean, Siegfried is the classic example of got buff. Now, Siegfried did receive some pretty crazy buffs. Like, to his, for now, he's got like an AoE revive with 2 turns of block damage, right? He got some pretty big buffs, but his biggest buff was that they made Rage of the Nephilim do like absolutely bonkers damage. So I'm not sure what I would prefer to see. Do I want to see the Mythicals get good buffs so that Mezomel and Frolny are like doing good damage, like really solid damage, or do I want them to like get buffed like Siegfried was and be like, oh my god, like this absolutely breaks the game? I don't know. I probably lean more towards the first option, but hey, we still have one more mythical that's getting buffed. Let's take a look. All right, the final mythical to get buffed. Again, he's one that shows up constantly on the lists of worst mythicals in the game. And by the way, check out my video in terms of mythicals that I think need buffs. I think there's still several that need buffs dramatically. I don't know if I mentioned, by the way, Ashnar in that video, but he definitely needs buffs as well. The newest mythical is just bad. But this guy, everyone feels like he needs a buff. He's finally getting one. Aphidus the Hivelord. Scarab King himself really turns into something like the Scarab King. Interesting. I actually did feel like his Form 2 is actually a pretty darn good crowd control form. So I wasn't too against Form 2, actually. Form 1 is like, I'm an attack-based damage dealer doing burns. Again, he was like a good Hydra champion, but just not quite top tier. So he's sort of in that position where it's like, okay, I get Aphidus. I might use him in Form 1 and be a decent Hydra damage dealer. Or you could use him as like a Form 2 crowd control champion. But, you know, he's definitely lagging behind some of the others. And a big problem with Aphidus, I feel, is that he does not transfer between his forms well. There's a little bit of that here, where he gains some defense for every 2 points of attack. So there's a bit of transfer, but not great transfer. Not great. But we'll see. We'll see how he is now. That was at least my opinion of him. With the following changes, We have aimed to refine Aphidus's kit in both forms to better reflect his dual roles in PvE and PvP, increasing his overall impact on the battlefield. While working on his main form, we aim to improve his role as a burner, not only as a debuff landing champion, but as a hard-hitting damage dealer too. Hence, his A1, A2, and A3 skills received a confident damage boost. A confident one. That's an interesting turn of phrase. On top of that, A1 will now place a 60% decreased defense debuff on the target for 2 turns and perfect fail on himself instead of an ally. A2 will now ignore a percentage of the enemy's defense, depending on whether or not the enemy's under HP burn debuff. As with the A3, it has an additional effect. The damage of this skill increases by 25% if the target's under any debuff. This is pretty spicy stuff. Okay, so big damage boost to Form 1. For his alternate form, Aphidus's kit has been optimized to better serve as a protector for his team, focusing on boosting allies and enhancing survivability. A1 now puts increased accuracy on the ally with the highest accuracy and boosts their turn meter 10%. Okay. A2 no longer requires conditions to activate the continuous heal buff, and with his A3, he now places both strengthen and increased defense on all allies for 2 turns, and his passive skill has been improved with an additional 5% chance to place a stun. Let me get you the exact details of what has changed, and let's take a look. Okay, here we go. So these are the actual details. So Form 1, his A1, the damage has gone up. Now it's not perfect fail on the ally with the highest attack. Let's take a look. Now it's decreased defense for 2 turns and perfect fail on himself. That's actually very, very solid. That's nice. That's a nice buff. Especially if you get, like, you know, yeah, being an extra bonus decreased defense and Hydra especially can be really nice, right? If you land that with an ally attack against, let's say, a decapitated head that doesn't have decreased defense yet. You've just decapitated it. That's a nice damage boost to get the decreased defense with A1. So that's cool. Umbral Stinger's damage increase. It's an AoE attack. Before attacking, increase attack on all allies. Ignores 25% of a target's defense if they are not under HP burn. Ignores 50% if they are. Holy shit. Then increases all enemy okay, that's a massive buff. So self buffs increase attack. AoE attack. Extends enemy debuffs. And it's just a baseline 25% defense ignore and 50% if they're under burn. Holy. Okay. This move is going to clap so easily. Oh my gosh. Like, you burn enemies in Hydra. Let's say they're burned. If you have area bonuses and a merciless set, you're ignoring 100% defense. You're, in fact, ignoring 105% defense, right? 20% from area bonuses, 35% from merciless. If you go in with Savage and Cruel, yeah, 25% from Savage, 5% from Cruel, that's 30%, 20% from area bonuses, 50%, add another 50, that's pure damage right there. That is a massive damage increase, absolutely huge. And it's really tough unless you're a big Kraken or you're very lucky to get a 6-star. I got very lucky with Frolny. You've got to be super lucky to get a 6-star soul for a mythical, so Crushing Rend is hard to get on him. My god, like, you'd run Nature's Wrath. This could be huge. And it also makes them way better in Arena. Like, even if they're not burned, you're now ignoring 25% defense. It's a huge damage boost in Arena to his damage, too. That's massive. Blister Bug Horde, his A3, damage increased. Attacks all enemies, 25% more damage against targets under any debuffs. And it instantly activates burns. If they're not under burn, it places it on them. That is sick as well. Yeah, he's quite interesting now. It's a pity they didn't tweak this passive, but it's fine. It's fine. And yeah, I think he's gonna be a freaking monster. This guy's gonna be a Hydra machine now. We're gonna have to do a Hydra showcase of him. You could run him as you're not the burner, right? So you priority 1 is A2. That you come in, somebody else places a burn, right? He comes in, massive nuke extends the burn. His second attack, he's got increased attack, self-buffed. Then he's activating the burns. He's gonna, yeah. It's a very, very, very big damage increase to Aphidus. I think that's warranted. Like, you know, he's a mythical. He's already decent in Hydra. He's already good, but he's not top tier. You know, there's other mythicals that are, you know, really, really outshining him, like Garol and Toshiro and stuff like that are a lot better. So yeah, that's a pretty sick buff, right? Wow, Form 1 Aphidus is now a beast. Okay, I like that a lot. Alternate form then. So let's take a look. So is A1 increase? Okay. So it's A1 before, which is increase accuracy in the ally with the lowest accuracy. Okay, so that might often not be very useful. Like they still don't have enough to do anything. Now it's increase accuracy in the ally with the highest accuracy and fills their turn meter 10%. That seems like more of like, yeah, more of a control, maybe more of an arena move. Seems quite niche. I mean, it's just his A1. I think he's got 3-turn cooldowns on his other moves. No, 3-turn and no, yeah, he does 3-turn and 3-turn. So he's not going to A1 very often. That seems quite small, not too big of a deal, I don't think. Putrid Cocoon attacks all enemies, puts stun. Also puts 2 continuous heals on all allies for 2 turns. That's sick. So this used to give you heals if no stuns were placed. Now it's a very consistent AoE stun plus 2 continuous heals for your team. It's a bit of a mixed move, but not bad. Behold the Beast. Provoke on all enemies. Also puts strengthen and increase defense on all allies for 2 turns. So before, it was strengthen on himself and increase defense on all allies. Now it's strengthen and increase defense on your whole team, plus provoke on all the enemies. That's way, way better. Yeah, I much prefer that. That's much, much better. So that's a great change as well. Cool. Okay. Yeah, sick. And then his passive, before, so he had a 100% chance of weaken, 35% chance to place stun whenever he was attacked. That's now going up to 40%. I actually thought that Aphidus Form 2 does have some potential. I actually think someone linked me on Discord. Because I mentioned it in a previous video a while ago that I thought his Form 2 had some good potential. And I think someone was linking me on Discord that they were fighting a Form 2 Aphidus in Arena, and it's pretty good. Like, you think about it, he comes into Arena. Now, if they have block debuffs or a cleanser or high resistance, you're in trouble. But nonetheless, he can come in AoE stun, then the next turn AoE provoke, and then when you hit him, you've got a 40% chance now to be stunned, and then he can be back to his stun. He has a lot of crowd control. You know, he has 2 ways to stun and then a provoke as well to synergize the passive. He has a lot of stuff going on in his kit, to be fair. He has a much better protector now as well. Unconditional, increased defense and strengthen, and double continuous heal. That's actually pretty solid. You know, he could actually, he's very interesting. You could run him in like 9-piece protection and Hydra in Form 2. That's a weird, wow. There's some wacky stuff here. You run him 9-piece protection. He could be your provoker. Increased defense, strength, and 2 continuous heals. Like, you put him in with like a buff extender and you put him in 9-piece protection, a 20% damage boost for the team. It's kind of interesting. Although for Hydra, his other stuff's not that useful. But he could be your weakened champion as well. It's kind of funky. And you could run him high speed, high accuracy. Yeah, for Arena as well. And you just use him for Form 2. Kind of interesting. Or you could build him for Form 1, which is going to be a massive damage boost. I think Aphidus just became really cool. And you could really build him focused on Form 2, or really build him focused on Form 1. I still think you're going to run into a little bit of trouble where for Arena, you'd really want him in Stone Skin, which makes Form 2 more so useful in Arena. You really want Merciless, I feel, for Form 1. You'd want Merciless, but that makes him worse for Arena. So there's definitely some gear stuff there, but he just became way more interesting, I think. So there you go. Those are the changes. I think Aphidus got the best changes. He got the most sweeping changes. He's way more exciting. Mezomel and Feralni just got damage buffs. So I think they're both fairly simple characters. They're never gonna be, I think, very complicated. They're just simple, straightforward. But hopefully they are stronger now. They were definitely nowhere near as strong as like the later well, broadly speaking, the later mythicals that came out. Like, yeah, Feralni and Mezomel, they're okay, but let's be real. You'd much rather have like Alaz is just on another level, you know, that sort of stuff. That's like an obvious one. Like Nice is kind of nice for Arena now. Like Toshiro for people content was on another level. Like, you know, so yeah, I think these are good buffs. I think they're good changes. Let me know what you think about this, especially if you've got these champions. I will definitely do a Feralni showcase, and we'll have to arrange a showcase for Aphidus for sure. And we'll give Mezomel a bit of a spin in Arena and see how she is that single target block revive. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.